want to start off by welcoming you all and saying thank you for coming to our first step in the, well, not exactly the first step, but nearly the first step in the process of your 8th graders becoming 9th graders here at MDI High School. My name is Matt Haney, and I have the pleasure and privilege to be the principal here at MDI High School. And I'll be walking us through tonight. I have plenty of other help here tonight, but I do want to say I appreciate you all taking the time to come out tonight. Our purpose for the evening is just a welcome, a brief overview of some of the first things that you'll need to know as parents, maybe not all of them, but some of the first things you'll need to know as parents of high school students, and some of the things that may have changed if you have older children here at the high school. I'm going to introduce some of the first people your students will interact with. Probably the most important thing that's going to happen tonight is you're going to hear from some of the people who have already experienced high school, both as from the parent perspective and from the student perspective. And then we'll have a chance at the end to answer some questions. And then for those of you who are interested, we have some of our folks are here to give tours of the building after we're done meeting. So thank you all for being here, and that's our reason to be here tonight. So throughout the evening, there's going to be some interaction. You see these blue screens, and that'll be present student and parent experience. So this first one, what do some of the students say that they wish their parents knew about high school? Instead of me trying to tell their story, let's let them tell the story.
Okay. One thing that I want my parents to know, or what I wanted them to know when I was a freshman, was how the expectations I am held as a student. Coming into high school, I am an athlete, so I've always had to train for sports, but I also like to keep good grades, so I've always had the expectation of high grades, as well as being a leader and being an athlete. Doing all three is very hard, so at school I'm held to an expectation very, very high, and at home I want to relax and debrief, and I don't always want to be active or be actively doing something. I just want to kind of just sit in my bed and maybe watch a movie or stay up late just doing something I like, because I know the next day I'm going to be back to those high expectations. And I think a lot of people, or a lot of parents, if they see their students just doing nothing, they think of it as lazy, or they should be doing schoolwork, but really they're kind of just relaxing and debriefing about their long, busy day.
Okay, so I guess I would just say let your kid make their own mistakes. Like, obviously there are some things that, like, you shouldn't let them do, but, like, let them experience, I guess, just their own way and be there for, like, when they fall, and just understand that it's going to be different.
Let your child have their own entire high school experience. Don't try to have them do things that their older sibling didn't do, or miss out on things because their older sibling didn't enjoy it. Let them create their own path, have their own experience.
I think one of the most important things about coming into high school is grades, like early on. When middle school you don't realize how important it is, but once you get to high school, it's a big part of the next step of going to college, and especially since they're not relying on SATs as much anymore. For parents, like, it's definitely very helpful if they check a lot more frequently early on, like especially a lot during freshman year, but then gradually over time build that independence and make sure that the student keeps up their own progress.
I think one thing that parents should know about high school is that they shouldn't push their kids and be really strict on them about grades, like taking their phone away if they don't pass this class, because all that's going to do is just put more stress on your kid and make them perform worse.
I want my parents to know that they need to make communication with teachers.
I think it would be really important for parents to know that their students and their children are going to change when they get to high school, or it's a possibility.
Just because your kid's not bringing home homework doesn't mean they're not doing work in the classroom. Ask the teacher about the grading system and get some clarification on it.
High school is very different than it used to be.
Something I'd like to say is that our school is very safe, and I think that's important to parents.
Those were uncensored and unprompted, so it was really heartwarming to hear the students say those things, and the honesty that comes from teenagers is amazing sometimes, so it's nice to hear. One of my favorite things about listening to that video, I guess this comes as a result of living a year like we did last year. You can hear all the background noise in the video of school happening. There was one of those videos was in the cafeteria. You could hear actually Mr. Kerrigan talking to another student in the background. He has a good theater voice. You notice we moved away from that spot later, but a lot of background noise, a lot of things happening. You hear the tones going off, but really just the overall honesty of what they had to say. And then the last student, she was not speaking up super loudly, but what she said was, "Our school is really safe, and that's something I want parents to know about." So I was proud to hear them saying those things. This is a quote from C. Joy Bell C. "We can't be afraid of change. You may feel very secure in the pond that you're in, but if you never venture out of it, you'll never know that there's such a thing as an ocean, a sea. Holding on to something that is good for you now may be the very reason why you don't have something better." So now we're back to another one of these blue screens. There are a number of parents of current high school students, as I said before, that I asked, "What do you wish you knew?" And these are some of the answers I received. "Don't give up on asking how school was or what happened today, even when 90% of the time the answer might be nothing." Maybe more than 90% of the time, but that 10% is worth waiting for. The next step tonight is I'm going to introduce Jill Cohen. She is our Dean of Curriculum and Academics, and she's going to talk through a bit of what your freshmen will experience next year in their classes, and an exciting thing that we're putting forward for next year. So, Jill Cohen.
Good evening, everyone. So in the video of students, you heard them talk about some really big changes. Changes in looking at grades, when they do the work, and their journeys for discovering themselves. And the quote that Matt just showed you talked about going from a pond to an ocean. And sometimes the waters in an ocean are very calm, and sometimes they're really, really rough. So we want to look at how we can best support students during their freshman year so that they can swim in the ocean, enjoy it, grow, and prosper. So to that end, next year we are forming freshman houses, and we are doing that so that we have a dedicated program that will welcome students and make the big ocean of high school a little bit smaller, but not as small as the middle schools that they're coming from. And the intent of that is to build a sense of community and to provide ongoing support. How are we doing this? We're going to have the freshmen divided into 2 houses. We're still debating the whole sorting hat type idea, but they'll be divided by 2 groups with a dedicated group of teachers, and also something called freshman focus time, and that will happen 2 to 3 times a week, and that time is specifically targeted to provide instruction and support for our freshmen around study habits. How do you manage your time? You heard one of our students talk about doing sports and having good grades, and grades counting differently than in the middle school. How do we make sure that they have the tools and the knowledge to be successful? We also recognize that this is a time of physiological change in becoming teenagers. How do we support them as they go through all those emotions? And we do this by teaming them up with teachers who will be meeting regularly and planning for these activities. And so what this looks like are mixed ability groups in which students will have either social studies and English paired together for a semester, or biology and physical education paired together. And they will move in smaller groups during the morning blocks. So we're looking at classes potentially being anywhere from 12 to 15 students, again, keeping class sizes a little bit low, and having closer relationships with their teachers. And then once students go through their first 2 morning blocks, and you have the schedule in front of you, and that will be reviewed a little bit more later on in the presentation, then they join the regular schedule with the rest of the high school. They'll have their math classes in the afternoon. If they want to take a world language, art, career technical education, they will have that opportunity. And we also see this as a way of expanding some of the electives in which students could take, because we see more academic interventions when necessary and more of that instructional approach. So those will be the freshman houses next year.
Thank you, Jill, and all of us who are here and meeting with you all tonight are people that you can reach out to and ask questions about. And of course, Jill is our Dean of Academics, and so she's the expert on these freshman houses, but she can also talk to you about how your student is doing. We're all on the same team here in supporting students. Okay, another piece of advice from former, well, not former, but current high school parents. I grouped these two together because they're saying the same thing in different ways. Being a parent in high school is like being a driver's ed instructor. The student driver gradually learns how to control the car, but you make sure you still have a brake pedal. I think that goes along with the thing that one of the students, Joey, was saying about keeping track on grades less and less as time goes by. Teachers and coaches now message the kids more, not the parents. For me, that was a big adjustment, somehow learning to trust that my kids knew what to do and when all the time. It doesn't mean you don't need to verify that trust. Next, we're going to have a couple of members of our school counseling team come up and talk about some of the processes that they have in place to support students in general and also part of the transition. So Megan Rowell is our Director of Guidance, and Mark Carrigan is our Transition Counselor, and they're going to talk you through the next phase.
Oh, it's bright up here. Hello, thank you all so much for coming tonight and welcome. As Mr. Haney just said, my name is Megan Rowell and I'm one of the upperclassmen guidance counselors here at the high school. Your students have already begun meeting with Mr. C. Your students will have Mr. C for the rest of this school year, all of their freshman year, and about halfway through their sophomore year. They will transition to myself and our other upperclassmen guidance counselor, Erica Witham. Mary Wallace is our administrative assistant. Mary has been here, she affectionately says, from the dawn of time. She knows everything, so if you have a question, Mary can probably answer that for you. We also have a clinician in-house in our guidance office. We're so fortunate to have Basil Steele. Basil can meet with students on such a huge variety of topics, and we have him full-time, which we're so lucky to have. So Mr. C is going to talk more about some of the specific services that we offer in the guidance department.
So the trick here was to actually make this fit on one slide, because we're very lucky at this high school to have a full range of guidance services. We have counseling, a full range of counseling services. As Megan mentioned, we've got a long-term counseling option with our clinical counselor. We do short-term counseling. We do counseling around academics. We do short-term solutions-based counseling and a wide range of therapeutic approaches. And we've got 3 counselors well-versed in all of those varieties. We've got a lot of academic support. If you have a question about how your student is doing, we're a great first contact after the teacher if you need another person to consult with. We kind of joke that we have caseloads of about 200. We try and stay on top of the students. We check grades regularly, and we're a great first contact if you have a question. If we can't answer it, we can help you find the people that do. We also provide a full range of post-secondary services. So if you're interested in developing a career, trying to figure out what you're interested in, planning for college, planning for a gap year, all of those services are things that we can do. We also help you plan things like if you're accessing a vocational program, if you need extra support, maybe a 504 plan, maybe access to an IEP or personal learning plan through the student success team, we can help you access all of that. And then, of course, the nuts and bolts of being a high school guidance counselor, helping you select classes, giving you advice with the context of planning for the future, and then juggling those courses and making adjustments as your plan goes forward. A couple things that you folks need to know. I am the transitions counselor, so for you guys, I'm going to be your first point of contact. We've already started the process for you. Things that aren't on this is that I've already met with all the teachers at the sending schools. I briefed them about the changes to the program so they know about that. They have already started meeting with me and giving me information about all the students that are coming. In fact, the last school finished making recommendations for placement. They've also shared information around interests, activities, things like that, so that when I sit down with you later on during our transition interviews, I'm going to ask your student about 25 to 30 questions, trying to figure out how they learn, how they think, how they approach problems, any goals they might have. And then I take the second half of the meeting and we really give targeted advice about the courses and goal setting things that we're setting up for their freshman year. We're going to also be setting up individual tours for students. That process has already started. A lot of elementary schools have identified students that are a little anxious about coming to the high school, which is a pretty natural response coming to a new environment. Those tours have already started. Other things that are going to be happening right now are we're going to have a student step-up day on April 1st. April 1st, the afternoon, is an early release day for the elementary schools. So we're going to have all the class of 2026, which is a ridiculously high number for me. And they're all going to come up. We're going to do an activity fair so they can actually meet students and some of the coaches for the activities that they're going to be signing up for. They're going to do a welcome very similar to what you've gotten tonight. And then we're going to do a tour and student panels so they can see exactly what the high school is like from the horse's mouth, just like you got to listen to some of the videos today. Following that, and this is something I really want to make sure you hear, we have a program called Advantage MDI. There are only a couple schools in the state that do this. It's a super program. It's basically summer camp at the high school. And I think it makes the biggest difference in freshman success that we have. They basically come up here. A select team of teachers will work with them, building community, introducing their advisory, teaching them how to navigate their schedule, how to navigate the rules of the road, and just building a total understanding of where they're going, what they're doing, and helping them formulate plans for that all-important first day. It's so important to that first step. It reduces so much of that summer anxiety and those butterflies in the stomach in August. I really encourage you to have your students come do it if it's at all possible. We have about 90 to 95% participation. You do have to register. And I just want to make sure every one of you that's signing up for meetings right now, I've actually attached one of the registration forms, so if you want to print that and fill it out before you get to me, that's fine. I'll also have blank forms when I meet with you. But make sure you get those in. If you're going off to summer camp, I have some kids that are going off to dance camp or band camp, and you can't make that week, what I would encourage you to do is set up a meeting with me the week before school. I'll go over the content and I'll teach you how to navigate your schedule and those things, so you can kind of start on the same foot of all the kids that had the advantage of doing the 3-day program. Next slide. Just some general contact information. This is a kind of a crazy busy time in guidance right now. I'm seldom at my desk, and if I'm on my desk, I'm usually in a conference call. So the easiest way to get me is through email. If you just search Mark Kerrigan, MDI, on Google, the first thing that'll come up will be my smiling face on our Google webpage, and you can find a way to connect with me via email. You can call me, or if you'd like to, and emails are great if you have like 1 or 2 questions. If you have 14, probably better if you actually use the link that's also there and set up a quick video call meeting, and we can kind of work through those things and probably give you a more complete answer. All right? I really fear questions that aren't asked, and I always appreciate questions that are. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It's my favorite time of the year to get to know folks. And that's pretty much it for me.
I just want to say one last thing. Please know that parents are just as welcome in the guidance office as students are. So any question you have, please never hesitate to reach out to one of us, and we will help.
right, thank you. Here's an interesting one. I would have liked to have known who to contact or how to contact an administrator about a pressing matter while on a school vacation or a weekend. Well, I'll start with the worst possible way to do that is in an email. True confession time. I am one of the worst emailers on the planet. I have about 200 right now that I'm behind. I get about 200 a day. So that is not a timely way to get in touch with me. But I want to expand on that a little bit. One of the things that I think that your children need from us is a healthy and well-functioning group of individuals working at the school. And one of the least healthy things to do is to be connected 100% of the time. So in 100% transparency, on the weekend, there are very few issues that are so pressing that I need to know immediately. And if an issue is so pressing that it requires someone's attention, it's probably a 911 call. I can't help you with that. If it's so important. Now, that kind of applies to weekend times, holiday days, and such matters. There's almost always someone here to answer the phone, or at least everyone has voicemails, which we do check first thing when we come in back from some sort of a weekend. There are people here during answering the phones during vacation times. So the phone is the best way to call, and people who are answering those phones have the ways to contact myself and Ian and Bunky specifically directly, or our school counseling team if it's some sort of a mental health crisis. So if there's such a pressing need that someone needs to know about immediately, it's either a 911 call or a call to the main crisis hotline, which I'll post. I'm going to post this slideshow, and I'll also post that number with it on our school website. So that's not saying I don't want to hear from you. That's saying we really need to be able to be at our best when we are helping your students, and we can't do that if we're connected 24/7. With that, I would like to ask Ian Braun to come up. Ian is our Dean of Students, and he's going to talk about just a few of the most important things you may want to know, and he's another person who is really easy to talk to, really important to build a relationship with as a parent.
Thank you, Matt. My name is Ian Braun. Dean of Students is my title. I read somewhere recently in some schools they call it Dean of Discipline. I am very glad you didn't put that on me. That is part of the role I fill, but my main goal here is to connect and interact with students. I try as hard as I can not to be at my desk in my office during the day, and when I am just a flow of students coming down for a variety of reasons to check in with them on how things are going, or to talk about a matter, or to see about a class or an issue, and so on and so forth. But really, my favorite part of my job is going around and checking in on classrooms and saying good morning and just being a presence there. And I do think that helps with the day-to-day goings-on of the school and so on. Anytime you need to contact me, I am good at answering my emails, so I do try to clear those every single day. I don't answer them on Saturday until Sunday night, but I will clear them before I go to bed for the night. And I also answer my any messages I have before I leave for the day. So you'll hear back from me relatively shortly after you contact me. So 3 common issues I just wanted to kind of go through that I think is concerns as a parent and students. Probably number 1 is how my child is being treated by his or her peers, and that is an issue. Kids are going through a lot of things, and sometimes they are not so nice to each other. That's the reality. Sometimes it's very much a back and forth argument, sometimes among friends or former friends. We work really hard, Matt, myself, to try to parse that out and see what's going on, and if possible, restore the relationship and have a working relationship moving forward. Not that they are going to be best friends or continue on, but they have respect for one another, and they can leave each other to their own school year and so on. Sometimes we do have to tell them that they're not to have contact, and if they do continue to have contact, there will be a punitive, measure taken, and sometimes we do have to move directly to a punitive measure and so on. But We are working hard to put more avenues for students to anonymously tell us what's going on, to meet with us, and put those around the school, and that's just some feedback we've received. We used to have a live link on our website, but that was not really effective. About 99 of the 100 messages we would get was that they didn't like the lunch that day. So it was very time consuming without really any benefit to anyone. But putting some things around school, that's something we're working on for next year, so the students will have more of an avenue to contact us. Or if they don't feel comfortable coming right and speaking to me and so on, which many students do. Vaping has been something that's been a real challenge for society in general, I think. And I think it's important to know that it's much tougher to monitor than tobacco was. When I first started teaching and first started becoming an assistant principal, it's easy to hide, it's easy to access, it doesn't have the same odor, and so it is a challenge. And it is very, very addictive. And I think for a long time there was a myth surrounding it that this was a way to get off of tobacco, a way to get off of nicotine, or that nicotine wasn't really in there. And it just is not the case. They are highly addictive and really a problem. Globally, we're working with Healthy Acadia to continue to educate our students. We're going to hopefully put some things in place for parent education. We already started educating our staff as well. When a student is found to be vaping, our number one priority is to educate them with the help of Healthy Acadia, to give them access if they want to, and hopefully stop using vaping and go through that process, which can be difficult, but give them the resources to do that, and we involve parents in that well. We invite parents to be a part of that process as well. There is some punitive consequence for that, but that being said, anytime a student comes to us and says, it could be myself, Mr. Dow, Mr. Haney, Ms. Cohen, the guidance counselors, and says, I have a problem and I need help. There is not a punitive consequence for that. We're going to get them help, and that could be vaping, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be a variety of things. Okay? We want to emphasize that we want to give them the help they need. So if they do have a problem, or they have a friend they think needs some help, we're going to approach that from an educational and supportive method and not from a punitive method. But if they're hiding it, they're sneaking it, they're doing those kind of things, there is a punitive part to that. And the final thing, and probably the most common thing you'll hear from me about, is attendance. And anytime a student misses a class or is late to a class, or I should say late to school, there is an automatic call that goes home to the parents. And don't necessarily leave your kid, oh, it's nothing, Mom, it's nothing, Dad, I was there. Maybe, but always feel free to call and check, and we can find out about that. We work really hard to get slips out to the students by the next day, and on that slip, it says detention slip, so it sounds very high level and stuff like that, but there's directions on the slip that say, if you think this was issued in error because you were meeting with guidance, you were in the clinic, you were in the class and the teacher made a mistake, there are directions on how to address that, and we want to empower students to do that. Say, hey, I have something that I don't think is right, how can I go about addressing this so that it is right? Of course, if they did skip the class, that is a detention. But if there was a legitimate reason why they weren't in class, we'll look into that. So if you do get a message from me and they go out, I just sent one out Wednesday for Friday detentions that says your child has a detention. I always blind CC it to everyone so no one knows whose child and so on. But always feel free to contact me and say, oh, I didn't realize, what is this about? What did they miss? And so on. And I do try to follow up with parents almost immediately if they have siblings in school so that you know which child it is that may be marked down as absent or have excessive tardiness to school. So, if you do have any questions, I'll be available afterwards, but also feel free to call, and I'd be glad to talk to you at any time during the school day or return your emails. Thank you.
All right, next question, or next point from a parent. My child's biggest regret was waiting to try out for the play and track teams. Help your freshmen to get organized, to try out for teams and attend meetings and clubs to figure out what they want to do. Next, I'd like to bring Bunky Dow. Bunky Dow is our Student Activities Director, and he's going to talk about some of those very things.
I'll use my gym voice. I hope you can all hear me. I don't like being up on the stage and stuff like that, but I'm going to just get right to the facts. Our starting date for fall athletics is going to be Monday, August 15th. High school athletics, high school drama, high school music. Everything with high school compared to middle school is a lot different. There's a lot more demands put on you in the high school than there is at the middle school. For example, high school, if you do an athletic team, you're probably going to be going 6 days a week. Okay, unlike what you do in middle school where you go 4 days a week. You will play a very big schedule. Hopefully we'll be back to normal, like we were 2 or 3 years ago, where we will be having drama festivals instead of drama, whatever they call it now. We'll have music, jazz band, we'll have show choir and stuff like that coming back like it was in the past. Athletic-wise this year, a 2-year hiatus due to COVID really put a lot of stress and changed a lot of things, but we also did learn a lot of new things on how to deliver the product that we currently give out. And so we learned something from that. But to get back to the slide, we will have an informational meeting that Thursday on August 11th at 6 o'clock at the high school. Location and stuff, the format will be determined later after I talk to the fall coaches. A couple things you need to know, and I'm just talking strictly athletics now, is that you will need to have a up-to-date physical dated after July 1st. Now I know some of that may be a hardship for some of you people because of your yearly physical, free physical, or whatever you have through your insurance. We will be providing free physicals on the 11th, 12th, and 15th of August, where you can just go up here. There'll be a schedule set up where you can just come in and get that done if your provider is going to make you pay for it because it's within that 1-year grace period. You'll need to have proof of insurance. We do offer school insurance. If you don't have insurance, but you will need a proof of insurance to participate in any extracurricular activity or co-curricular activity. After July 4th, a lot of the information that I will be giving out will be located on the athletic webpage, so be sure to be looking at that. On April 1st, we'll be having sign-ups. We'll have an activities fair where the kids come in, they can sign up, where they can give information where we can, coaches can get a hold of them for summer stuff that happens. They are encouraged and welcome to come in the summertime, to our sessions that we offer. It's a good way to get to know the coach, get to know your teammates and stuff like that. And hands off, that's from the Maine Principal Association, starting August 1st through the 14th, we don't do anything. I guess that's your time to have with your children to go on vacation and stuff like that. I would discourage you during the season to take off during the season. I understand, it's vacation time and stuff like that. You won't be penalized, but if you were playing or participating, you may have to work your way back into that position that you had before. That's just, we want to not reward, we want to make sure that those kids that stayed back get that opportunity to participate also. So I'll be available for questions. Unlike Mr. Braun and Mr. Haney, I'm on my email 24/7. That's my downfall. I'm available by phone. All that information's on the athletic webpage. Anytime you need to get a hold of me, I'd be glad to talk to you. If you want to set up a private meeting, we can also do that. The last thing I will say is this community has been outstanding. I'm very fortunate to work in a community that supports not only the athletics, but all the other fine art programs we have and the school that we have here on the island. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Bunky. When I was gathering the videos with the students earlier today, there was a student who was a little camera shy. and he wanted me to share this information. Parents need to know that the buses get back really late, and you have to wake up at like 1 o'clock sometimes to come pick us up. So there's that. And he's not wrong. The next piece, if I had to pick one thing that I wish had been explained in detail to both myself and my older daughter before she began her freshman year, it would be the dress code. So as I said, I'm going to share this video, this slideshow, and there's a link to the dress code, and I'm going to jump over that in just a second. The one thing I do want to say is traditional punitive dress codes have been proven over and over again to be discriminatory. Discriminatory towards girls, discriminatory towards girls with certain body types, discriminatory towards students of color. And so a couple of years ago, we did a pretty major modification to our dress code. And if your students come home and say, the dress code is really lax, they're telling the truth. And so I'm just going to quickly go over to the dress code. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing, but I'm going to read the philosophy. And then again, you can find this. Somehow it's disappeared from our website, so I'm going to get it back up on there. But this dress code was developed in cooperation between the administrative team, student advisory board, and the civil rights team. And the primary responsibility for a student's attire resides with the student and the parents and guardians. The school is responsible for ensuring that student attire does not interfere with the health or safety of any student, and that student does not contribute to a hostile or intimidating atmosphere for any other student. That's the base philosophy. Again, you can read it, and we're certainly happy to answer questions, but I did want to bring that up, that if they're saying that it's more open than they may be used to in either other schools or in the middle schools, they are telling you the truth. Okay, I think everybody has a schedule. There's a front side which has says MBIHS schedule. Well, it says 1129 through 120, but we're still rolling with it. That's one thing we got used to over the last couple of years. There's a lot of change, but luckily we haven't had to change this. So if you look, the teachers are here at 7:30, and they do a lot of prep time and a lot of collaboration with one another, a lot of work getting ready in teams for their students' day. And then if you can see on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, their first class starts at 8:55. Their second class starts at 10:06. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they go directly from there to Block C, which is either their lunch or their third block class. Then they go to their advisor's room for about 9 minutes, and then they have their Block D at the end of the day. After school, teachers are available to meet with them about, it could be about homework, it could be about making up a test, it could be about a non-academic conversation, but teachers are available to meet with students after school. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, the schedule is similar. Oh, also on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next year, that is when between those blocks A and B classes will be the freshman house time, and that's also when the freshman focus time will happen. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, the class blocks are a little bit shorter, and students have something called flex time, which is a chance that teachers can tag them for extra help. Teachers can offer bigger workshops related to their class, or basically just open work time in their class subject. And there's also a lot of exciting, interesting types of fun activities that students can sign up for during flex time for that 37 minutes. High school schedules are bizarre in their start times and length, durations of time, because unless you have 5 minutes of passing time between each class, you start to have some strange stuff. That's why you have things like 10:59 on this schedule or 37-minute blocks. It's just a strange thing about schedules. But anyway, flex time happens. Teachers offer activities, and students can sign up. And all in all, the students have really appreciated flex time this year as a chance to both get extra help and to do something that there's no grade attached to, that they get to learn and have a fun time doing during the day. So that is the typical daily schedule. And again, we'll be able to answer some questions about that afterwards. If you flip it over, you can see a typical schedule that a student might have. This is not daily, this is what their schedule looks like. So the first semester, Our schedule runs in, it's called a 4x4 block, which means half of the year a full credit class goes every day, and then they switch all their classes halfway through the year, and then the second half of the year happens. So in the first semester, a student might have English and biology, block A and B, and then block C, they would have an art class, then they'd go to advisory, and then they'd have French, right? That's their, every day, that's what their schedule looks like, for example. Every student clearly isn't gonna have that schedule. And then in the second semester, they switch over to a PE, one quarter wellness, another quarter. Wellness is a lot of classes, a lot of schools call what we call wellness, that's a health class. And then they have their World History East, which is a social studies class, and then they might have an elective Intro to Computer Science, and then their math class in the second semester. Another suggestion or another possibility for a schedule like this is there's a lot of students interested in music, and so that music block is block C, so that's when students have music and they can do band, they can do chorus. In the second semester they'll be able to pick up orchestra. They can do 1, 2, or 3 of all of those things during that band block, and again there's a lot more to say about that, but it's that's something that people can learn as time goes on. So again, after we break, people, if they have more questions about any of this, including the schedule, please stick around and ask. There's one more member of our leadership team who was not able to be here tonight. She's doing just what we ask everyone else to do, and when you don't feel well, we're asking you to stay home, so she kindly is not here tonight. Kelly Flynn is our Director of High School Secondary Special Services. She's in charge of all of our students' plans who have IEPs or 504 plans or other special services. And so Kelly will be at anyone who has one of those plans. You'll be having a transition meeting with your case manager, your student's case manager in the 8th grade, and you'll meet Kelly. She'll also be on that Google Meet call. So she was going to do a little special thing afterwards tonight, but again, she's doing us a favor by staying home. So there's 2 more things I want to say in closing before we break into tours or questions. I guess there's 2 things I want to say that we strive for here in the school, is that we treat each other with kindness and respect, and we know each other. That's what we do, and it's really hard to be truly kind to somebody until you know who they are. And we take the time and the energy, and we set scenarios up, like Jill, for example, like Jill described with the houses, like advisory. We take the time to really get to know the students and the staff, and it pays off, and it comes out in kindness. And we also really work hard, and the classes are challenging, and the students gain a lot. So those are the things that we really strive for. And I just want to say, I can empathize with you. I also have an 8th grade student who will be starting as a freshman here next year. So if you ever need an empathetic ear, I can be that person. So with that, I want to close the official meeting, but if you want to hang around and ask questions, Mark and I will stay in the theater here, and then Megan and Ian and Jill and Bunky can split up and show people around the building who may be interested in doing that. So with that, I'll close the official portion and say thank you all, everyone, for being here tonight.